Here's the data of the top 100 romantic comedy movies in terms of domestic box office from 1990 to 2019. With PivotTable, you can summarize the entire dataset or drill down to get more information. For example, we can understand more about romantic comedy's ability to make money. First task, prepare a pivot table showing domestic box office by years. Think about what that means. We basically want a list of years, and each year would have a sum of domestic box office from all the romantic comedies from that year. First thing to do is to select all of your data using Command A or Control A. Go up to Insert and then click on Pivot Table all the way on the left. Click OK to let it go to a new sheet. Now this area is basically a sandbox. You can play around with the data using these buttons, and whatever you click will be reflected here. From the task, we know we want domestic box office, so click on Domestic Box Office. You can see that pivot table is trying to predict what you might need. It's summing up your domestic box office. It's good, but we need to separate them out by years. So let's click on Released, which is released year for short. So now it's showing me a sum of years. That's not useful. Why do I need to add a 1990, 1991, 1992, and so on together? That's completely useless. But that's okay, because now's the fun part. Let's play around. Let's drag this released to a different quadrant. So if we move it to columns, it gives us what we want, the domestic box office under each year. But it's really ugly. Nobody wants to scroll left and right to look at data like this. So what if we drag it down to rows? Now it looks good. By the way, if you're playing around and messes up, you can simply drag these fields out of the quadrants to erase them, or you can just unclick them up here. Task 2. Prepare a pivot chart showing average domestic box office by years released. It's pretty much the same thing as before, except now we need a pivot chart and we want averages. If we look at the answer for task 1, it's showing the sum for each year, but is it one movie or a bunch of movies? We don't know, so it's important to look at averages. Like before, select the entire data set. Now go up to Insert and click Pivot Chart. The pivot chart function creates a pivot table and a chart. Again, it's like a sandbox. Click on the fields and drag them around and the tables and charts will update. Just like task 1, we want domestic box office and years. And I'll drag release to row just like before. This part is still showing sum. So here's how to change it to averages. Right click on the header and go to Summarize Values By and click Average. Now we can see that 1990 is a really big year for romantic comedy. We can actually click on Title to take a look. In the top 100 list, Pretty Woman is the only one from 1990 and is one of the top movies. If you're in the movie business, you'd want to recreate this kind of success.
Do you remember me?
No, I'm sorry.
I was in here yesterday. You wouldn't wait on me?
Oh,
You work on commission, right?
yes.
Big mistake. Big. Huge. I have to go shopping now.
Let's unclick Title because that's not what task 2 is looking for. But as you can see, the chart and the table, they reflect whatever is clicked here. Now we just need to format it. And give it a title. It would also be a good idea to format these as currency. As you can see, the chart updates by itself. Task 3, prepare a pivot table showing domestic box office by movies only released from 2011 to 2019. Then sort by largest to smallest. Like before, select all the data, click Pivot Table. Now click on the things that we need. Domestic box office, movie name or title, and years. This is good, but it's showing all of the years, so we need to filter. See this filters quadrant? Drag released to filter. Now this filter pops up at the top. Click on the little triangle, deselect everything because we only want 2011 to 2019. These are all of the romantic comedies in that 9-year period. It is sorted in alphabetical order, so it's not very useful. Let's sort it in a descending order. Right-click on any of these domestic box office numbers, go to Sort, and largest to smallest. Now we can see that Crazy Rich Asians is the top rom-com in that 9-year period.
Nope.
You have a cocktail dress in your trunk?
I'm not an animal, Rachel.
Finally, format these as currency, and everything looks good. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments.